Are you working with someone you can't stand? We've all been there. Working with people I want to punch in the throat has been called relatable and laugh out loud hilarious. Read the stories about all the crazy people Jen Mann has worked with over the years. Find out who she wants to punch in the throat. Working with people I want to punch in the throat is now available everywhere books are sold.
Hi, I'm Denise Grover-Swank.
And I'm Jen Mann.
And we are two Midlife Mommas.
Welcome to our podcast.
Yay! So Jen and I hadn't seen each other in a while, and she's getting ready to plan some trips to go out and meet some readers.
I am.
So where are you looking at going?
Oh gosh, let me think. I don't know. You say these things and then all of a sudden I go blank. I don't know. We're working on a whole bunch of them right now, but nothing's really solid yet. But I was going to say that there was somebody, though, in Sacramento who wanted us to come together.
Ooh.
They wanted us to come together and do our podcast there.
Oh, that might be kind of fun.
So,
can we get some wine?
I know, definitely. So I was like, I think
Sacramento's by Napa Valley, right?
I don't know where it is.
I think it is.
All I know is it sounds warm and fabulous, and so like I'm like, maybe we should just take Midlife Mommas on the road. We should do that.
Oh, that would be fun. A lot of podcasts do live shows.
They do.
We could maybe get 5 people to show up.
I was gonna say, my husband just discovered the two women who do the murder one. My favorite murder. He's like, have you heard of these ladies? You guys could be just like that, Jen. And I'm like, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your confidence in us. I'm like, but those two ladies are rock stars, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, it doesn't take much. You just need to. Thank you, dear. No, I was like,
well, we'll just let him handle all the promotion.
Exactly. Please just
get
us
to that level, right?
Yeah, and
we
so
can
they write
up writing and just do podcasts.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, I believe we write. Like, the podcast is something fun we do once a month.
Yeah, right? I know. That's what when people ask me about the podcast, I'm like, how many listeners we have? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, we just do it because we have a really good time.
Well, he's such a numbers guy that he was asking me that the other day. He was like, how many subscribers do you have? How many downloads do you have? And I was like, dude, I don't know. I
need to give you. I think I gave you the login to check the. Yeah, but it's not totally accurate because it's like fed out into so many places.
I should just give it to him though and be like, here you go. Knock
then
yourself
he can
out.
check.
Make a spreadsheet. Let us know.
Yeah, right. We need to. Yeah, he can be in charge of that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we could get 5 people to come to Sacramento. I think it would be worth it. And 5 people and wine, and we're there.
I think it's a great idea. To figure out how to record it.
Yeah. Or we just, podcast.
Right. So a spring break is coming up. Do you have any plans to go anywhere?
Well, this week we have that long President's break.
Yes.
Do you guys get that? We're in different school districts.
No, Blue Spring does not, but my kid's private school does.
Oh, okay.
So, yes.
So we have like this long weekend coming up. And so we're going to take the kids and we're going to Orlando.
Yay.
And so we're going to do that. And then for spring break, it's always like, it's like 18 days or something crazy. It seems like it's so long. And
so you guys get a long one too?
We get a very long one.
So my kid's private school gets 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But Blue Springs only gets 1 week.
No, we get like about 2, I think, total.
Oh, that's
because
crazy.
They tack on like teacher day, like teacher in-service days. So the teachers don't get that long.
Right.
But the kids
do. So you do typically go on a vacation?
We really kind of do these long weekend ones instead a lot of times because usually it seems like the airfare is so expensive and it's so
spring
crowded.
breaks the airfare is more expensive because they know people are traveling so they can charge more.
And so this way it'll be short and sweet. And then over the spring break, I don't know. My daughter mentioned the other day that she doesn't remember when we went to Chicago a few years ago. Yeah. And so I was like, we could drive to Chicago.
Right.
And so we might go up there for a couple of days or something. Yeah. A lot of times this is when we go to St. Louis. We go to St. Louis and we do that. Have you been to that museum where your child goes down a hole and pops up outside?
Yes.
Was it the City Museum or whatever?
Yeah. It's been a few years, but
if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to Google the City Museum in St. Louis. Yeah. It is insane. If you have any sort of phobia, you should never go there. Yeah. Like I didn't know I was claustrophobic until we went there. And my kids, the first time we went there, my kids were like 3 and 5.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't quite understand it. But you like put your kid in a whole one place and they pop up like on the 5th floor somewhere else.
Yes.
And and they went in this hole and they're not coming out. And I'm like, where are they? And then some other woman was like, oh, they climb up to the roof from there. And I'm like, what? And they go outside the building and they climb up the building.
Yeah.
And so I went in after them and I got about 5 feet and I was like, I'll have more children. I don't need them back. And so I came out, I was so claustrophobic, and I told my husband, I'm like, you have to go. Like, go save the children. And then I just kind of would wander around and try to find them. I heard there's a bar on the roof. I've never been comfortable.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I've never felt that comfortable to go up there and drink while my children crawl around this place. But that's usually what we do over spring break, is go there and go to the giant human ant farm and crawl through it.
Gotcha. So, we didn't used to go places on spring break, but last year we went to Hawaii. I had a whole bunch of points.
Yeah.
So we got the hotel for free. I had tons of Hilton points. And the airfare was, he wasn't
So when you go to Hawaii, you take all your kids.
Yeah.
Do you get a condo? Do you get a hotel? Like, how does that work?
Well, the first time I went, we had just a hotel room. I know
a family of 4. My family doesn't even like to be in a hotel room together.
The first time was a hotel room, and it was kind of rough. I'm not going to lie. It was me and 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so then Trace came with us last year, and we were in the same Hilton Waikiki complex, but they have condos, 2-bedroom condos with a sofa bed. So we could separate. Yeah. So we could go to separate rooms. So,
yeah, because we actually have a timeshare there. And so, so we always get a condo even just for the 4 of us, because it's another thing. I guess maybe that's part of my claustrophobia too. I don't like to be that close to my family members.
I know. Well, and you could like go to and plus there's a kitchen, so you can like cook something, limited things like eggs in the morning. Yeah. So you're not eating out every meal, which gets really expensive, especially in Hawaii with that many people.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I was like, okay, well, what do we want to do for spring break? And so Julia's like, well, we should go to Hawaii again. And I'm like, well, are you going to pay for it?
I was just going to say, that was the thing I noticed with my kids. We took our kids to Hawaii a couple years ago, and it has ruined everywhere else.
Yeah, right?
Because nothing can compare.
Right.
And so they're just like, oh, we're not going to Hawaii. And I'm like, no, bitches, we're going to Universal Studios, and I'm going to ride roller coasters.
We've never been there.
We've
never been to Orlando. So I was like, well, maybe we should go to like Gulf Shores, because we like the beach, but they can't swim. And we'd have to drive because
it's hard to get to.
Yeah, so we're like I don't know if y'all know, we're in the Kansas City area, and like I was discussing with my daughter yesterday, we are not close to the mountains. We are not close to the ocean. We are not close to anything cool like that. So
no, Denver's like what 9 hours away or something crazy. Yeah.
And but people drive there farther to get to the mountains.
Yeah, so, that's I think what most of my kids' classmates do is they go skiing over the break, and they'll go out there and ski for a while. But we're not skiers, my family.
No, I've never taken my children skiing.
We like warm weather.
I've been once skiing.
We like warm weather and roller coasters. Yeah. So that's Orlando makes sense to us.
Yeah, I should have done that.
And I like Harry Potter.
But spring break, I think, in Orlando would probably not be
because we've done that. We've actually, so we would go for like our little break or whatever, or we went at the beginning. I think one year we went over spring break, but because it was so long, of course, we didn't stay the full 2 weeks or whatever. And so we kind of looked at when the East Coast got out of school. Like I'd done some asking around. They usually
do like in April, don't they?
Yeah. And so like we were going to overlap by one day, like our breaks were going to overlap. And we were there that one day, and oh my gosh, like, and we'd been kind of complaining before that about the length of lines. And that day, like we all wanted to leave. Like we were just like, we just want to go home. It's so crowded. So
I'm going to plan in advance Orlando next February.
Yeah.
So
or October. Do you guys get that October break too? Like we get like a long weekend in October. Yeah. If you get that one, that's the best one to go.
Yeah. Blue Springs took away I think they took away their fall break. Part of it. So I don't know. I'll have to double check again. I was looking at I was looking at the calendar, and then I may have it confused with some school district in Alabama. They've changed. Have you seen that? They changed they proposed a new calendar, but this was proposed by state senators in Alabama. So already think about what kind of education they have in education.
Yeah.
And they are going to go to school from the end of the day after Labor Day and get out the Friday before Memorial Day, and they get absolutely no breaks. There's no spring break. They have to go back to school on the Friday after Thanksgiving.
No.
They get off a week and a couple of days over Christmas, and the parents are outraged. And so the school district is saying, and they're lengthening the school days. So children, elementary school would be in school from 8 to 4:30. And high school would be something like 8 to 5.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you live in Blue Springs and you don't like that, you need to move over to my side of the town of the city because we get really long breaks.
Yeah. So Blue Springs does get breaks. I'm not insinuating they don't, but they don't get as many breaks as you all do. So
but you guys, I feel like you guys get more snow days. So
we probably do. Yeah. We probably do.
It all balances out.
So we're like totally off topic of what we were going to discuss. I know, right? We could just shoot this shit for an hour. So.
Gosh.
So you mentioned City Museum in St. Louis.
Yes.
And so the first time I went there, and this is going to like sound like a total downer now. But the first time I went there was on spring break with my kids when we were in Tennessee. And it was right after, it was about a month after my husband had passed away. So we were still all kind of like in our days period. And so like I can remember, like, I don't remember a whole lot about that trip because I was starting to get widow's fog at that point, which is a real thing and people don't really are aware of anyway. Neither was my psychologist that I was going to see. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, so we were then trying to find our new normal. So, I was used to if, my husband was out of town, I wouldn't cook. So the kids would have chicken nuggets or we'd eat out. So we're like, you can't maintain that kind of life. So like I was trying to like, figure out a new normal of cooking and like doing things and like going on a trip without him. But also in that whole midst of all of that I was realizing that I had lost or was in the process of losing all of my friend groups.
Wow.
Because I was now a single woman who had been married and had formed friendships with couples. So, we did things with couples and
That's so interesting because I hear this from like my divorced friends that you pick a spouse, kind of thing. Like, well, we're going with the man or we're going with her. But your husband died. I mean, there was no one to pick. Like, there's just you left. Like, if anything, your friends need to rally.
Yes.
And be around you because you've lost your husband.
Right.
I'm so surprised to hear that they disappeared.
Right. And it was kind of a slow process. And I'm looking back, I'm like, did they think that I would feel weird? Because they all got together. We would get together for like monthly dinners and
as couples
and so did they think I'd feel out of place? Did they not like that reminder that more of mortality and they could lose their own I don't know what happened,
but you were cut out no matter what.
I was phased out
regardless whatever their reasoning was.
But within 6 months I no longer did things with those people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think now because I really haven't had a friend lose their spouse that I can think of right off the top of my head. But of course I've had friends that get divorced and you sort of choose.
Right.
But even then, I try to choose the right one. I don't know. I'm thinking now like, I think this is why it's really good to have a conversation with people about this kind of thing. Because I was saying earlier today, I was telling Denise that, today I lost my grandfather. And my dad asked me if I wanted to say something at the funeral. And I was like, I'm terrible with grief. And so, like, I'm like, I got 15 minutes that will kill at the bar mitzvah, but nothing for graveside. And what I'm thinking is, like, listening to you say that, like, I'm putting myself in the shoes of your friends.
Right.
And to me, it would be more like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say to her.
And
like,
I truly think that's a lot of it. People don't know what to say.
So what should people say to you?
Like when someone who's grieving?
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people would ask me, what can we do for you? I had no idea.
Like we all want to feed you.
Yes. And we did get a lot of people who fed us.
And is that helpful or is that overwhelming?
Yes, he was very helpful.
Okay.
So like when he was in the hospital, and like I feel like I'm sounding a little ungrateful because like when he was in the hospital for 5 weeks, people rallied to help.
So
like they brought me food. We had people bringing us food every night, every other night.
Because I think we're really good of what to do in a crisis.
Yes.
Like we know how to help you and support you when we're like, we're going to bring you food. We're going to pick up your kids. We're going to, you focus on him and getting him better and, and that kind of thing. But then once it's he's gone, and now you're just like, well, they don't want a meal anymore. Like, what can I do?
Right.
But what you're saying is just keep being my friend.
Yes, keep being my friend. And like, I had somebody, like, for a while after he died, a neighbor would mow my grass for me.
Okay.
So, but then, like, I had boys, so, like, I had them start doing it. And I did it, too. I'm perfectly capable of mowing grass.
Anyone can mow the lawn.
I was trying. It wasn't a very big yard. It totally wasn't like my yard here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but... I just, be friends. But I've also, it's funny because once you're a single person and you're with couples, there's a totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
So, but we had mentioned this, bringing up this topic, with single people and their friendships and, whether they're divorced or widowed or whatever, I'm not quite sure, like, I'm trying to think as a married person how I would feel if someone was single coming. I don't think I'd have a problem with it. Like, I'm trying to understand what happens. Like, why do singles, because I'm not the only person who's felt this. Like, divorced people have felt this. Yeah. And I can see in divorce picking a side. Maybe they feel like they're,
but it's like there's like a couples
disloyal.
Clicky thing. There's definitely a couples clicky thing.
Yeah.
Like, people like to do things as couples. And I have a husband who does not like to do things as couples.
Right.
And so for me, like, I'm excluded.
That was my first husband.
Like, I'm excluded from the couples stuff a lot of times because everybody's like, oh, they don't like to do couples things. They're not a couples thing. And for a while there, I kind of let it bother me. And now I just find people... And but now I make it a girls thing because I feel weird as a married person saying like, well, bring your husband too.
Right.
It'll be great if we all just hang and I'll just be over here by myself.
Right.
So I think, it's such a weird thing. But I think that if we were friends, it's not that I'm like seeking out. I'm seeking out people I like. I'm trying to remember, early on, my son, when he was like in kindergarten or something, he had a friend from school and he wanted to meet at the playground to play. And my husband was trying, God bless him, in those days, he was trying to do couples things and he was trying to meet some people. So he said, oh, and you used to go with the kids, the moms would go to the play date. And he said, oh, tell her to bring her husband too. Maybe I'll like him. Right. And so I texted her back and said, oh, my husband says, could you bring your husband and they could have a play date too. And she wrote back, I'm unmarried. Whoops. Oopsie. And I was like, and that's how I heard the tone in my head, whether that's what the tone was when she typed it, but that's the tone I heard. That she was like, lady, sit down. Like, we're not all married. And so my husband still went, and it was super weird. Like, he just sort of lurked because then it turned into like girl talk kind of, and so he kind of lurked and he was like, well, that was awkward. I'm like, well, only for you. Yeah. Yeah. But I think if you would have a dinner party with couples, I think what I would try to do is have a mismatch. So you're not the only single person there. Right. I would have to branch out and meet some other people. Right. And maybe they felt like with the dinner party that it make you sad. That you remember.
And I don't think it wasn't malicious in any way, shape, or form. No. So, yeah, I mean, I've got to put that out there. It wasn't like, oh, well, she's no longer welcome. I think it was probably a combination of things. They thought that I might feel uncomfortable. Maybe they felt a little uncomfortable.
Somebody would say something stupid and hurt your feelings. Yeah,
exactly.
But yet it hurt your feelings to be excluded.
Right. Because when we're getting totally off the topic that we had planned, but when you become a widow, you don't just lose your spouse, but you lose your identity. Mm-hmm. Because I was a wife and I was no longer a wife, and now I have this new label that I'm not quite sure how to handle. And so like the first couple of years of being a widow, it was always the elephant in the corner of when you introduced yourself to someone, that you typically talk about, I'm married. And so I would say, I'm a widow, and it would be like a thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I got to a point where I didn't want it to be a thing anymore. Right. I didn't want it to be the definition of me. But so I lost, my identity as a wife. I became a widow, but I also lost all of my friends. I lost almost all of my friends and my support system.
And that was you didn't live here in those days, right? Mm-hmm. So when you moved here, you were single.
Yes.
And so this time now you went out meeting friends
as a single person.
Yeah. And do you hang out mostly with single people or married people or a combination? Or
combination?
Yeah.
So my good friend Trish was single she was getting ready to get divorced when we met. And so she was single quite some time. And so we traveled a lot together, like both with my kids and without, and hung out a lot. So, and now she's married, but we still see each other, but not as much because she's got two small children. Yeah. So
it's hard when you've got the kids and you've got the husband, because it's like I'm going on a trip at the end of this month with one of my friends, and I think this is like the first time I've gone on any kind of girls trip that's not business related. Right. That's not a conference.
Cool. Yeah.
It's not,
is this the Las Vegas trip?
Yeah. And it's like, and at first I was sort of nervous to talk about it with my family, but I was like, you know what? I'm going on this trip, damn it. And she's not single either, but it's like, but I think though there's just a different dynamic of having it be women, and it's hard, both of us have older kids now, so it's like easier to get away, I guess, and you don't feel like sad about it. Yeah. And so when Trish's kids are older, she'll be back on the road again, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
She'll go to Orlando with you next year.
Exactly.
Your trips are just changing, that's all.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, because I had not really thought about it. This was actually a topic I saw in the Midlife Bites group, and what the woman who posted about it was talking about too is she was saying like people they think that she doesn't even want to be invited to like their game night or their dinner parties or their barbecues. And so she was saying like, if you have single friends, reach out to them, invite them to all your things, because they're lonely. Yeah. And she's like, I'm very, very busy. She's like, because which I'm sure you understand that. She's like, there's no backup. There's no one else. It's all me. Right. But on the other hand, I'll make time. You know?
Well, it's funny because like I was thinking about since I moved here, I cannot think of anything I've done with other people that were couples, like as a couple.
Wait, say that again?
So like I've met people and I've made friends, but I've done things with the women, but I've never done anything really with
the man too. The whole couple.
Yeah.
And would you like to do that?
I would, if it was just them, it might be kind of weird. But if it was like a group of people, of couples.
I was going to say, because I would invite you to dinner. I would invite you to dinner with me and my husband, but he will pick the hell out of your brain.
Well, I would feel comfortable with that.
He would be like, do you have spreadsheets I can look at? Like, what is your marketing plan? Like, I would be sitting there in the corner just drinking. I'm like, you two just talk.
But again, like if a couple invited me, I'm sociable. I'm not totally socially awkward. I would totally be fine with that. Yeah.
Good for you, because I am socially awkward. So when you go to your, like, I know you have like a wine tasting thing that you belong to.
Yes.
Is that a couples thing, or that's all friend things?
Yeah.
Like,
okay. It's friends. Yeah.
So you need like a couples. So.
And I'm not complaining. I'm just observing. I'm just
observing too. Because I would say I would invite you to stuff, but we've established I don't do anything. So I'll have a game night. I do love a good game night. And I will invite multiple couples, and and then that was just what I was going to say. So that's my other problem with inviting, like, okay, so like, let's say I invite you to my house for game night, right? And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm thinking in my head that I got to invite somebody else single so I can like balance it out. Then what happens when my hot dentist who is single comes, but I'm like, don't worry, it's not a hookup, but it could be a hookup. Like, then I feel like everybody thinks I'm trying to hook them up.
Right. That is another, no one's ever tried to hook me up with somebody else.
Like to be hooked up?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not against it. All right, well, that's the goal then. So if you are in a 30-mile radius and you think you have an eligible bachelor for me to invite to game night, let me know.
This conversation has not gone the way I expected it to.
Welcome to Life with Jen Mann.
No, it's like, in TV and movies, everybody's always trying to hook up their single friends.
They are.
Yeah, no one's ever tried to hook me up with anyone.
Okay, well, then that's going to be our goal, Midlife Mama listeners. We're going to try to find somebody that is worthy of Denise.
Oh, that's pretty hard.
It is hard. He's going to have to... He's going to have to be pretty awesome, but he's also going to have to put up with a lot, too. So,
I know, right? No, I completely agree. Because I'm a totally different woman than I was when I was married before. Like, I know things that I want and don't want, and I'm not going to put up with shit.
There you go.
So, yeah.
So there you go. So that's
no man is ever gonna want it.
That's not true. There's tons of men out there that they say they want a strong woman. I got one for you.
Oh, okay. So do you have very many single friends?
I do not. I have, so I'm thinking of my cousin who, I don't know if she listens to this or not, but if you're listening, I love you. She is single. She's in her 30s. She's been single her whole life, never married. Super uber successful woman. And the thing that I have noticed about her, though, is she has tons of married friends.
Really?
She has tons, like all her girlfriends, because she's real close to all her girlfriends from college still.
Okay, so they got married and they still included her.
Yeah, and they still include her. She goes to all their kids' birthday parties, and they all still travel with her, which I can't get over. I'm like, how do you find these women to travel with you that have these little kids? Yeah. And she's like, I'm fun. And I was like, I guess you are. But she's really kind of my only real contact, I think, that I know of, that I'm close to. And, and she's kind of like you in that she knows exactly what she wants. Like, she's open, but yet there's
I'm not going to compromise. No. I've compromised for men for too long, and I'm not going to compromise. So,
and she's super successful in her own right. And she's just like, there was a quote I was reading the other day that my husband was kind of upset about it because I said, this is how I feel. It said, I don't need a man. I want a man. Yes. Wouldn't you rather be wanted than needed? And he's like, what's that supposed to mean? And I said, it just means like a lot of women latch onto men or husbands or whatever, or were pushed into marriage because you need someone to take care of you. Yes. You need who's going to pay your bills, who's going to protect you, who's going to do all these things,
especially financially.
Yeah. And I think that, and I said, wouldn't you rather be wanted? Like, I want to be with you. I don't need you, but I want to be here.
Right.
And I think that
should be a compliment.
I thought it was, but he's a little old fashioned.
Oh, okay.
At times, he has come a long way, but man, he's a little old fashioned. And let's put it this way: the night before our wedding, we had already decided that I was not going to take his name. And the night before our wedding, we had a huge fight about something else unrelated, and that came up. And it was like, and you won't take my name. Oh. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's new.
I was like, okay, so that's a problem. And guess what? I still didn't take his name. But I explained to him why I would not. I was 30 years old, and everything in my life was
established.
God damn, if I was like, you can take my name.
Yeah.
And you can go get all your shit changed.
Yeah, right? That's right.
But I think that, but to me, I felt it was a compliment that I don't want to be with someone because they need me to cook their dinner or iron their shorts. No, right? Like, you want to
I have too many people who need me.
Thank you.
I don't want someone else to need me.
Yes.
I want them to want to be with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think that's exactly how my cousin is too. And it's interesting because my daughter, we're very close to her, and my daughter has seen this. And my daughter, she wants that life.
Oh, good for her.
She's like, I want her life. And I'm like, okay, you go for it. You know? And I was like, keep the door open. Maybe you'll meet someone special. But in the meantime, yes.
But don't settle.
And don't wait. I think that was the other thing. In my family, we were encouraged to wait. That we weren't supposed to really go do anything. We were supposed to wait for that knight in shining armor to come and rescue us all. And my cousin did not wait. But
good for her.
And I remember when she was younger, some of the aunts would say stuff like, oh, she'll have no one to hang out with when she's older. And she has plenty of people.
Right. Well,
she's awesome. Figured out the secret. But she's a younger generation than us, too.
Yes.
And I think, each generation, I'm more impressed with how more open-minded they are about things.
Well, and my son is divorced, and he's 32, and he's got all kinds of married friends. Yeah. And he hangs out with them.
Yeah.
He hangs out with the men, but he hangs out with the couples. Like, over New Year's, he invited some of his old friends he went to middle school with in Tulsa, and they came up to the lake. 3 couples came up and hung out. He was the only single person there, and nobody thought anything of it. It just was the way it was. Yeah.
There's hope for the future, but we're going to have game night. So I'm going to have game night. So I need you all to find me a hot single dentist to invite to my game night.
Oh, there you go.
And I got to find like 3 couples that actually like me. They won't come to my game night.
Pressure.
No pressure.
Maybe we should just skip it all.
Oh, no. No. We're doing it, damn it. It might take me 2 years, but we're doing it.
We're going to do it. Oh, man.
All right. So all this to say is look around and see if you have some single people in your life. Yes. And make sure that you're including them, that their lives may look glamorous and fun, and we all envy the nights by yourself and the remote to yourself, and God, that sounds amazing, the bed to yourself, but yet it can be kind of lonely, and please reach out to them and figure out how they can be included. They'll let you know if they don't want to come.
Yeah, definitely. They'll come up with an excuse.
My dog's birthday is that day, so can't really make it. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we're out of time.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
And be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We forgot to say that. We always forget. We're really bad at sales. So
we're terrible. Which is weird because you really usually are.
I know. I'm off today. Yeah. So subscribe to okay, I'm going to do it all. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell 5 friends about this episode. Tell them to start, though, with the sex episode because that really is our best episode, I think. Agreed. So start with that episode, then start listening. Yeah. And then you should probably, buy 2 books each of ours.
I like it. Yeah.
I think that's plenty.
Let It All Burn comes out on February 18th. My paranormal women's fiction. So
I get nothing new right now, but there's plenty to choose from. Denise is just an overachiever.
I am. Totally am.
All right, bye, you guys.
Bye. Hi, Denise here. I know you're sad because the podcast episode is over, and now you have to wait an entire week to hear us again. But guess what? You don't have to wait. You can listen to one of our audiobooks. Like to listen to true crime podcasts? I've got several mystery series to choose from. Or maybe you prefer to listen to podcasts about The Bachelor. Check out one of my rom-com series. You can find these audiobooks and many more at Audible, Apple Audiobooks, or check out my website, denisegroverspank.com, and click on audiobooks in the menu at the top. Happy listening!